Hey there and welcome back. My name is Josh and I'm here today to talk about tour guides. Yes, these are the people that are traveling on your excursion, or they're the people that will be traveling with you over a number of days while you're on vacation. But before I get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe and notification bell. Thank you very much. Let's talk about the ambassador. Now, this is the tour guide or the person that is responsible for the group while you're on vacation, and they are directly incentivized to make sure that you are having the best experience that you can possibly have. Now, an example of a great ambassador is most recently I was in Greece, and our tour group decided that we wanted to go to Ia in Santorini, and the tour guide was able to go ahead and kind of pivot and change our itinerary just slightly so we could go ahead and visit this location. And it really went a long way to make this one of the highlights of our vacation. Next, we have language. If you don't happen to know the native language of the country you're visiting, having a tour guide is a huge advantage. It allows you to be able to navigate the society a lot easier. And if you do have paperwork issues or anything that comes up with medical needs, you know that you have someone that can communicate clearly in the event that something serious does occur. So having someone that speaks the native language is a huge plus, and you do get that with a tour agency and a tour guide. Now here's one that I found particularly helpful, and that is understanding cultural norms. If you have an ambassador, they can basically guide you on how to act in the society that you are in. As an example, in some cultures, it is not acceptable to go ahead and take pictures of community members. If you do so, you might find that it is rather unwelcome and could lead to some sort of hardship. Another example is street artists. In Colombia, there are street artists that will perform for you just on the fly, without any asking, without any solicitation, but as soon as they're done, there is a strong expectation to be paid. And you want to be able to have people guide you away from this kind of behavior from communities that you're in. In addition, your ambassador can basically give you guidelines to how things like tipping is and how greeting is conducted in the different countries that you are in. This next one's a good one. Let's talk about getting a fair shake. Now, being a tourist is great, but people and companies often can identify tourists and they adjust their prices accordingly. If you have a tour group, a lot of the tour agency and the tour guides understand the going rates for different activities, and they can make sure that you don't get ripped off. As an example, we had someone on my last trip get offered a trinket from an archaeological site that was worth a lot of money, and thankfully he never purchased it. But that goes to show you that locals are or people who are trying to make a buck are willing to commit to things that are not necessarily the truth. This next one is called the inn. Now, we all want to be able to go to the different destinations and get into kind of VIP sections, but when you go somewhere alone, you don't really get that opportunity very much unless you're willing to pay a lot of money. But when you go with a group, they often have connections with local community members and clubs and different things along those lines to where they'll get you into a VIP section. They'll get you those complimentary drinks and, just odds and ends that sort of lift it up just to the next level that you wouldn't be able to do necessarily on your own. And a very simple version of this is, just being able to skip the line when other tourists are having to wait. You just sort of walk on in because that relationship has been established between the tour group and the tour provider. Now, I think everybody has fallen for this next one, and that is the tourist trap. Having a guided tour will ensure that you stay away from these kind of things, and they can often be, either a destination as a tourist trap, or sometimes there are activities that are the tourist traps. If you're a fan of ecotourism, you also want to avoid tourist traps that are negative for animals and local community members. So an example of this is if you're in Thailand and, Southeast Asia, the idea of riding an elephant is really cool, but ultimately it's pretty harmful to the animal. Another example of a tourist trap would be going and seeing exotic animals and taking pictures with them. This would be like your drugged up lions and tigers as some examples. So do the right thing, try to avoid the tourist traps. So when we're traveling abroad, the one thing that we like to pay attention to is safety. And with a large group of people, you are ensured that you are going to have a greater level of safety than if you were just with yourself or with one or two friends. An example of this is when I went to Day of the Dead in Oaxaca, Mexico. There is no way that I would have traveled there and done that on my own or with just one friend, but certainly with a group, it felt a lot different and it felt a lot safer to be able to have a group and camaraderie with you to make sure that you are safe. If you're like me on traveling, you want to make sure that you have an emergency plan. You know how to react if something goes wrong, if someone gets injured, or if there's some other kind of emergency. Now, with a travel group, they have done extensive studies on how to deal with these kind of issues, and they probably have a binder of how to react in every situation that might occur. Think of this as being a medical emergency or some sort of security emergency. They just know and have a lot more experience dealing with these than the average person just trying to go on vacation. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe and notification bell so that you can keep up with this and other travel advice like it. Thank you so much and have a good one.